Hello everyone, it's Cleo here, and today we're going to be talking more about the Make Your Mark My Little Pony animation. Now, my last video was talking about how it doesn't maybe look as good as we were expecting. Images, like especially this one, were rather concerning to everybody, including myself. It doesn't look very good, does it? It doesn't look very pretty or polished, and this pony's even seemingly missing ears. But what's interesting is, among absolutely hundreds of comments I got on this video, is one I got just today. This comment basically explains why everything looks the way it does, because most of the video was me asking, why does it look like this? And everybody in the comments, why? We don't really have an answer to that, but this commenter, Jules, appears to have an answer, and I quote, "The reason the lighting / colours look like that is quite literally there isn't enough budget to make it look nicer, plain and simple. Believe it or not, the lighting is like 99% of the time spent rendering. The more time you have to render, the better it will look. Oftentimes, higher fidelity lighting engines require a lot more time to look nice. The lighting engine used in the movie is an incredibly nice one. Realistic lighting, pleasing soft shapes, ambient occlusion, light being able to pass through and reflect within objects. Think about shining a flashlight behind your hand and how it goes red. But I know from experience the amount of time needed to render these things is astronomical. Wherein this new special is clearly not using the same rendering engine, there doesn't seem to be any ambient occlusion and the lighting is much more artificial looking. Fun note, things becoming desaturated is a big part of photorealism in the CG artwork, because that is how both cameras and our eyes perceive colours. The brighter it is, the closer to white it tends to go, but there are a lot of render engines that don't exactly capture this, and when things get brighter, they tend to get more saturated, not less, causing the final image to look very intense and less realistic. There's a link for a video as an example, which I will link below. I'm almost certain these are the exact same colours as the movie. It's just the engine they're using does not desaturate in the same way the engine for the movie did, causing everything to seem more harsh. The quote, sharp shadows are definitely a part of this render engine. Here's why budget comes into it. Because again, rendering high fidelity animation takes time. How do big budget studios compensate for this? Render farms, 100 computers rendering 100 frames all at once. Say one frame takes 1 hour to render, a monumentally kind estimate. It will take 1 full day for a second of animation. Multiply that by 60, it will take 60 days for a minute. Multiply by 44, it will take 2,640 days to render a full movie. That's years. To compensate, we have farms that will render 100 frames at once, meaning 1 hour instead of 1 frame. You have 100. Cutting that estimate of render time down exponentially. But render farms are very expensive. The more computers you have, the more money it costs, and the longer it takes, the more money it costs you. Pixar reports spending 24 hours per frame and having 2,000 computers, and this was a few years ago, and with this, it still takes them years to render. But much smaller companies cannot afford 2,000 computers, so they can't afford 24 hours per frame. So they cut down the render time, hence the cheaper rendering engine. It's probably also why Izzy's hair is much shorter, because her hair is a particle system. All hair is, and calculating particle systems triples render time, so they gave her much simpler hair. Making nice looking 3D is not as simple as making nice looking 2D, and far, far more expensive and time consuming. The way the lighting and colours look is ultimately the absolute best they can do with what they have. You can't just desaturate the colours on an engine that is not built for that. I thought this was a really interesting point. Obviously, I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but it seems to me like it is. They've given some proof in a video there, and honestly, who could write all that and not know anything about it? I don't think anybody could manage to invent all of it. I thought all of this was a really interesting point as to why it looks quite poor, and if you think to yourself, why would they choose these colours? Well, it looks like they probably didn't choose the colours, that they chose the same ones and ended up looking that way, which makes perfect sense. So of course the question is, why did they make them look like this in the first place when they could have made a Flash cartoon like FIM was? So why didn't they do that? Well, the first one is maybe just because they wanted it to be 3D no matter what to match the movie better. That's a possibility. Another possibility is that just like us, the people commissioning this, the people in charge, don't understand either. The people funding it maybe don't understand, just like we didn't understand, how long it takes and how much expense it takes to make it match. Maybe it's as simple as that. Personally, of course, I think looking at what they could afford to have done on this tight budget, it would have been a lot better to do a Flash animation cartoon, but it's a little bit late to change that now, so all we can hope for is a good storyline, because personally, the Coco Melon style animation, it's not very pleasing. But of course, let me know what you think to all of this in the comments below. Are you surprised? Have you learned anything? Is it wrong? Is it right? Let me know what you think. I would really love to see your comments. And thanks again to Jules for leaving this thoughtful comment. It was definitely an interesting read for me. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.